It was 1912, and the streets of London were foggy and thick. The city, full of the sounds of horse-drawn carriages and distant chimneys puffing smoke, was alive with the turmoil of a world. In a small, weathered apartment on the edge of Covent Garden, 18-year-old Emily Harper sat hunched over a wooden chest, its surface scratched and worn with time. The chest had belonged to her late mother, Elizabeth Harper, a woman of quiet strength and unwavering devotion to her daughter. Elizabeth had passed away just months earlier, leaving Emily not only heartbroken, but utterly alone in a world that felt both vast and unkind. Her father, a merchant navy captain, had been killed in a storm at sea, when Emily was still a mere child. Therefore, Elizabeth raised Emily single-handed. Now that both parents are gone, it is only some memories, and that mysterious chest that's before her. As she trailed her fingers on the faded engravings on the lid, she felt an inscription faintly etched into the wood as follows: 1912. In search of truth. Intrigued, Emily struggled with the rusty lock. It resisted at first, but she was persistent. With several determined twists, it finally yielded to a soft click. Slowly, Emily opened the chest, her heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and fear. Inside, layers of yellowed lace and old letters entwined each other. A leather-bound diary lay there. The edges were frayed and written across it in bold letters. The Harper family secret. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She had never heard her mother speak of any family secret. What could this possibly mean? She opened the diary, and the musty smell of old parchment filled the air. On the first page was a carefully drawn map, its lines intricate and deliberate. Beneath the map, a single sentence was scrawled in her mother's elegant handwriting. The way to truth is along where the sun does set over Harper's Field. Harper's Field. The name made Emily shiver. It was the place her mother had often mentioned in bedtime stories, a vast piece of land owned by their ancestors in the countryside. The tales were always whimsical, a treasure buried under a tree, a secret meeting place for lovers, but Emily had never imagined there might be truth to them. She turned the page eagerly for more clues, but the rest of the diary was cryptic notes, sketches, and fragmented thoughts. One entry read, "What lies beneath the willow is not gold, but something far greater." Another said, "To understand our past is to unlock our future." Emily felt a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. Could this diary be the key to uncovering her family's legacy? Or was it just the ramblings of a woman who had endured too much loss? That night, Emily lay awake, her mind racing. The apartment felt colder than usual, the faint creak of floorboards and the distant tolling of a clock reminding her of her solitude. She clutched the diary to her chest, her thoughts spiraling. "Should I go?" she whispered into the darkness. The thought of leaving London, a place she had known since birth, was terrifying. Equally as terrible, though, was the idea of staying, bound to the dailiness of mere survival and meaningless existence. The decision had been made by morning. She would go to Harper's Field. If the diary held even a semblance of truth, it was worth the trip. Emily sold a few remaining possessions to buy a train ticket. The ride through the countryside lasted a long while. The gray cityscape slowly turned into fields and rolling green hills with panoramic views around every bend. She gripped the diary tightly, her knuckles white with nervous anticipation. Emily had boarded the train. As it reached Harper's Field station, she stepped onto the platform. The boots crunching over gravel were very soothing. The fresh air carried an inviting aroma of wildflowers, contrasting so much from the polluted atmosphere in London streets. The field was just a short walk from the station, but as Emily approached, she felt an overwhelming sense of déjà vu. Stories her mother had told her came rushing back: the towering willow tree, the brook that glistened in the moonlight, the whispers of secrets carried on the wind. As she crested the edge of the field, she saw it, the willow tree. Its branches swayed gently in the breeze, inviting her in. Beneath its sprawling canopy, the grass was soft and untouched. Emily knelt, taking the diary out of her satchel. She turned to the map page and compared it to her surroundings. Landmarks matched perfectly: the tree, the brook, even the arrangement of wildflowers. She trembled, shoving her hands into the dirt and starting to dig. It was like hours had passed before Emily's fingers hit something solid. Her heart was racing when she pulled out a small wooden box, its surface engraved with the same intricate designs as the chest back home. She opened it slowly, half expecting gold or jewels inside. But inside the box was something much more mysterious: an old locket, a bundle of letters tied with a red ribbon, and a key. The locket had the initials E.H. across it, her mother's. She opened it and found a miniature, faded portrait of a man and a woman she did not know. The letters, postmarked to someone named Emily Harper, were in a language that Emily didn't understand. The key was the strangest object of all. It was big and ornate, unlike anything Emily had ever seen. Taped to it was a note: "The truth lies where the past meets the future. Find the door." Emily sat beneath the willow tree, the box's contents spread before her. The weight of what she had discovered was almost too much to bear. Her mother had left her a trail, but to what end? What door did the key unlock? And who were the people in the locket? For the first time since her mother's death, Emily felt a spark of purpose in her step. She did not know everything, but she had something to run after, something to chase after and believe in. As the sun dipped below the horizon, where it cast hues of gold and crimson onto the field, Emily made a silent vow inside. She would follow her clues, no matter where they led her. And so, with the diary in one hand and the key in the other, Emily Harper set out on a journey that would change her life, and perhaps even the world, forever. The air was lighter in the countryside as Emily Harper went on an investigation for answers. However, a weight lingered in her heart, a weight born from those cryptic messages in the diary and the artifacts she had unearthed. Each item seemed to carry a story, memory, and a purpose, but meanings lay shrouded in riddles, crying out to be unraveled. The first challenge was the letters, written in an unfamiliar language. Undeterred, Emily trudged into the nearest village, a quaint cluster of stone cottages and cobblestone streets. In the village square, she found a small library that smelled of aged books and candle wax. An elderly librarian greeted her with a kind smile. "You look like someone searching for something," he remarked, his gray eyes twinkling. Emily hesitated, then unfolded one of the letters. "I need help translating this. It's in a language I don't recognize." The librarian studied the script, his expression growing serious. "This is Latin," he said. "An old form, but I can read it. May I?" Emily nodded eagerly, watching as he carefully examined the letter. "It speaks of a sanctuary," he started, his voice low. "A place hidden in the hills where secrets were guarded. It says, 'The door lies beneath the guardian's gaze, where the sun meets the earth.'" Emily's heart was racing. "What does that mean?" The librarian leaned back in his chair. "It sounds like a riddle. The guardian's gaze could refer to a statue or monument, perhaps something nearby." Armed with this new clue, Emily set out to explore the surrounding hills. As she climbed higher, the air grew colder, and the landscape became wilder. She clutched the diary and the key tightly, the weight of her journey pressing on her shoulders. Hours passed before she came upon a clearing. There, in the center, was an ancient stone statue, a figure robed in a stern countenance, with its hand stretched toward the horizon. At its base, an inscription read, "The guardian watches over the door to truth." Emily's breath caught. This was it. She looked around the ground around the statue, searching for anything unusual. Finally, she spotted a patch of earth that seemed disturbed. With trembling hands, she began to dig, her fingers soon striking cold stone. She uncovered the surface and found a trapdoor. Its iron handle was rusty, and the wood was weathered, but it held firm. She inserted the ornate key and turned it, the lock clicking open with a deep groan. The trapdoor led to a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Emily hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She lit a lantern she had brought from the village and began her descent. The air around her grew damp and musty as she ventured deeper. The staircase ended in a cavernous chamber, its walls lined with shelves filled with scrolls, books, and artifacts. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a single object, a leather-bound book identical in design to the diary she had found in her mother's chest. Emily stepped into the room cautiously, her lantern casting flickering shadows across the walls. She opened the book and saw that it was filled with Latin text. This book, unlike the diary, seemed to tell a complete story. Over the next few hours, Emily read, her fingers trembling as she turned each page. The book detailed the history of the Harper family, dating back centuries. It spoke of her ancestors' efforts to protect knowledge and artifacts during times of war and upheaval. One passage stood out. "In the face of darkness, we chose the light. What we guard is not treasure but wisdom, a beacon for those who seek to rebuild what has been lost." Emily came to understand that the treasure her mother had referred to was not gold or riches, but a legacy of resilience, knowledge, and hope. The book also contained detailed instructions on how to safeguard the sanctuary and ensure that its secrets were used for the greater good. But one entry made Emily cry. "To my dearest descendant, who will one day read these words, know that you are part of something greater than yourself. The strength within you is the strength of generations. Trust in it, and you will find your way." Emily came out of the room when the sun began to rise above the hills. The golden rays of the sun spread across the landscape, and for the first time in months, she felt at peace. She had found not only the answers she sought, but also a purpose that filled the emptiness within her. Returning to the village, Emily brought her discovery before the librarian, who marveled at the book and its contents. They decided to preserve the knowledge to be used to educate others as the Harper legacy. Emily transformed her life by 1925. She was a teacher traveling the countryside to impart the knowledge she had uncovered. Her work inspired countless others to live in hope and resilience in the face of adversity. The sanctuary remained unseen. Its secrets were safe, but its purpose was fulfilled through the efforts of Emily, who not only honored her family's legacy, but also forged a new path for herself and brought light to the lives of others. As she stood beneath the willow tree one last time, the diary in her hands, Emily smiled. She had come full circle, her journey of discovery leading to a life of meaning and connection. And so, with the past behind her and the future wide open, Emily Harper embraced her new beginning,